Alright, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Annisa. I'm from English Literature 6B. My ID number 403190028. Today I will make this video to fulfill the assignment for this week. And the study is book report. And the second book that I choose, the title is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Alright. Pride and Prejudice is a novel created by Jane Austen and 18th century novelist from Britain. Jane Austen has a smart, elegant, and tidy writing style in her literature, and then Pride and Prejudice is a classic romance novel that raised the romance story of the 18th century from Britain. Jane Austen alludes to the love story that happened in that century in her novel, where at the time social status was the main topic if you want to choose a partner or want to have a relationship. And for the main character, I choose Elizabeth Bennet. Why? Because Elizabeth Bennet is the second daughter of Mr. Bennet. Elizabeth is the most intelligent and sensible of the five Bennet sisters. She is always red and quickly wit, with a tongue that occasionally proves too sharp for her own good. Her realization of Darcy's essential goodness eventually trumps over her initial prejudice against him. And Elizabeth is a keen observer of others, but she also has a tendency to value her ability to pass judgment and form opinions quickly. She is often embraced by the abuse behavior of her mother and younger sister. And although she is always aware of her family finance, she is still hoped to marry for love rather than convenience. This is the proof for the main character Elizabeth Bennet. And for the second main character that I choose is William Darcy. Mr. Darcy is a wealthy gentleman, the master of Pemberley and the nephew of Lady Catherine de Bourgh. Though Darcy is intelligent and honest, his excess of pride causes him to look down on his social inferiors. Over the course of the novel, he tempers his class consciousness and learns to admire and love Elizabeth for her strong character. Calm, reserved, and somewhat antisocial, he doesn't open anyone when he first enters society, and in generally seen as cold and arrogant. This is the proof for the main character, Mr. Darcy. Okay, we move to the mood. The mood of Pride and Prejudice combines cynicism with romance and allows readers to feel the gender-motivated tension of the era. There are three main areas where the critical mood of the novel is made very clear. The first is the representation of bullish character, and the second is the attitude toward representation about social class, and the last is the critiques of gender roles. Okay. For the plot, Pride and Prejudice is a story created by Jane Austen, who is a British writer. This story was published in January 1813. This book tells a story about love and social status. Tells about Elizabeth and Darcy who had misunderstanding in their first meeting. Their first meeting started at a dance party in Longbourn village. Elizabeth is a daughter of gentility who named Bennet the gentility. The beginning of this story is told him the anxiety of Mr. Bennet, who wants all his daughter to get married before leaving this world and plans to match his daughter with a rich man. The Bennets have had five young daughters. There are Jane, Elizabeth, Mary, Katie, and the youngest was Lydia. One day, Bennett gets big news about a big guest arrival in their village, that of a rich young man who is called Charles Bingley. After hearing the news, Bennett and his wife look happy. They introduce their daughter to Prim and go to the party. Bennett and his wife plan to introduce their daughter to Charles Bingley. In the party village, look like they are having fun and silent for a moment when Mr. Bingley comes with his sister and his friends, Mr. Darcy. All pairs of eyes are on them, and of course, every person looks amazed with them. Mrs. Bennet quickly approached Mr. Bingley to present her daughters to Mr. Bingley. It turns out Mr. Bingley falling in love with her older daughter named Jane, and she's Ada. At the first time, Elizabeth falls in love with Darcy when she looks into his eye. Nevertheless, Darcy looks uninterested with Elizabeth. Elizabeth is a cool man with an arrogant personality. When Elizabeth asked him to dance, Darcy ignored it. Elizabeth was dejected and encouraged her intention to recognize him. But we would have talked about Elizabeth and Darcy always having met, and if they are in the conversation, they always end with a bad atmosphere. Elizabeth is an intrepid woman, but with, with a blunt personality. She will talk about she wants without thinking who the other person is talking to and what the classification of them is. But we would have thought that Mr. Darcy fell in love with her because of her blondie and, of course, also about her beauty. Darcy thought his love for Elizabeth. However, Darcy's arrogant attitude and their misunderstanding made Elizabeth reject Darcy's engagement. At this as time went on, finally Darcy realized his mistake to Elizabeth, and Darcy tried to change his trait to be a good man. Along with Elizabeth realized that Darcy has changed. After that, Darcy and Elizabeth met again, and Darcy tried to explain the mistake between them, and finally Elizabeth accepted Darcy's engagement. This is the proof from the plot. And next we'll continue for setting. Pride and Prejudice is set in English countryside, and the tone of the 18th century. The exact date is unclear, but he knows the action took place sometime during the Napoleonic Wars because Austen refers to soldiers and regiments. This novel tells the story of an upper middle class family, the place in England where the story begins, namely Netherfield Park, London, Longbourn, Rosings, and Pemberley. The atmosphere in Pride and Prejudice is quite cool and intellectual and compared to modern literature. And the book is monotonous and the atmosphere looks classic because this novel talks about the lives of novels. This is the proof for the setting. All right. Okay, maybe until here my explanation for second book, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I'm sorry if I have wrong. I hope you all pardon me. And as I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.